It's not a major improvement, but it's there. If you're running something like the Mark III reflector, if you prefer this, use it. But oddly enough, he actually said he's not even going to swap off the Mark III because he prefers the Mark III better because the pieces in the glassless that kind of turn into the middle towards the dot, he didn't like those. There is another benefit that he didn't really talk about in the video, but the top comment of the video did point out in that
Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty podcast, episode number 409. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by Tanner.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
And we are about to embark on a journey into yet another episode of the program.
Do you even own our newer hoodie?
I do, but it's packed away somewhere, I think.
You still have stuff unpacked, really?
You know what's weird? Dude, I swear to God, I was just thinking I should wear the new hoodie because I saw you wearing yours.
Yeah.
I almost said something and then you said something also.
Yeah.
That's super weird. That was a weird coincidence. Welcome to the show. Today we have some things to talk about. Not Tanner's latent homosexuality, which is fine, by the way. Patrons know. But listen to our behind the scenes for his coming out kind of spiel. We'll get more into that at the end of the month. Yeah, today we have a couple things to talk about. Nothing too crazy has happened this week. We're still kind of waiting with bated breath for season 3. However, a lot did change with the video game for season 2 Reloaded. Not so much in terms, again, of new content, because it was pretty much all relegated to Fortune's Keep, rather in terms of weapon balance and stuff. So regardless, there were a couple changes this week that we want to talk about, and then also want to finally talk about the new optic and its popularity and why it's so popular, because, well, we'll get into it. But before that, couple quick announcements. First of all, welcome to our new patrons, and welcome to our upgrade patrons. Adam S has upgraded from platinum to platinum from gold, and then also from platinum to Damascus in the same week. Got it.
It wasn't the same week, actually. It was 4 minutes later, I believe.
Got it. Yeah.
It was minutes later. Let's see if I can find the email where it said how far apart they were, because it was funny. It was under 5 minutes he went. He had already upgraded.
He was like, you know what? I want even more
and
bonus
I deleted
content.
the email, so I don't know. Yeah.
Got it. Adam, welcome to the Damascus Lounge King. We appreciate it. And thank you very much, big dog, big giant dog. Join the Discord, buddy. And we're glad you upgraded to Damascus. Go straight there next time. And that's a word of warning to all of you. And we got one more patron who did an upgrade, because there's been a vacancy in the limited slots, 10 maximum Obsidian patrons. We had a vacancy. And bro filled it.
Bro filled
and that
my
bro
vacancy.
Is Gator. Gator has filled the vacancy. He's become an Obsidian absolute Chad.
Thanks, Gate. Appreciate that, buddy.
Big giant Gator has joined us on the Obsidian yacht. He's been welcomed aboard. He has joined the Discord, which is good. See him chatting in there. And we love and appreciate you for that, Gator. And it's great to have you on the yacht. Thank you very much, man. Very kind,
Thanks,
very generous. Hope you enjoy your experience on the Obsidian yacht. Join the Discord. And yeah.
What would be your
Nice to
go-to
see you
cocktail
there.
if you're hanging out on a yacht with our Obsidian patrons? What would you be drinking?
Ooh, on a yacht. I think I'd have to go with the Cape Cod, the classic. It's not very classic.
What do you mean?
Actually.
What's the Cape Cod? I don't even know what that is.
Most people don't know what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
Vodka cranberry
Oh,
is a
so
Cape
just call
Cod.
it that. Interesting. You made up a name for it. That's interesting. You did that.
I
Huh.
didn't, but yeah. Because cranberry juice and vodka. It's very it's an aquatic cocktail. It's a very light
college student cocktail. Yeah.
It's a light, summery, kind of wistful cocktail, you know? And that's the vibe I get being on the deck of a yacht.
Yeah.
The
Cool,
Obsidian yacht.
All right.
What's your yacht cocktail?
I think it depends where we're sailing or where we're docked, you know? Kind of
Okay.
depends, you know?
Interesting.
If I'm staring at New York City, maybe I don't know, maybe a New York
Manhattan.
sour, yeah, Manhattan, old fashioned,
Yeah.
something like that. But you know, if we're in the Bermuda Triangle, it's got to be, you know, something else, something fruity, maybe. You know, something for sure. Anything.
I think I'd be drinking something straight if we were in the Bermuda Triangle, because I'd be fearing for my life.
Yeah.
I think I'd just be guzzling it straight out of the bottle.
Got it, man. Yeah.
But anyway, evidently it's not that dangerous in the Bermuda Triangle, by the way.
Yeah. Sierra's
It's
family was
like
actually
not.
just in Bermuda. Yeah. Is Bermuda in the Bermuda Triangle, or is it something weird? Maybe it's not even in the Bermuda Triangle, man.
well,
You never know.
I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah,
actually.
don't know.
I don't think so, though.
Told ya.
I think it's off the coast of Bermuda. One of
Warzone.
the points. Warzone. Gator, thank you very much, buddy. And Adam
Bates
S.
serves the cocktails.
Thank you, Les, as well.
Yeah.
Bates is our cocktail waitress, yeah. Now, speaking of the Patreon, we have done some EPs for all of our esteemed patrons. One of which we made live yesterday. It went live yesterday for all of our patrons, and it was a really good episode. We basically did a kind of deep dive analysis, investigation, pulled up the numbers and everything into weapons in Warzone and what you should be using. Because after the weapon balance changes of Season 2 Reloaded, there is not a very clear and obvious, like, best long-range meta gun for Warzone. Because before that, before the balance changes, it was just the RAM. Like, it was just too good. But now that's not exactly true anymore. The RAM is still in the conversation, which we talked about. But there are a lot of other guns in the conversation. And I think the long-range meta right now is probably more diverse than it's ever been since MW3 released. Almost certainly, actually. Maybe not the most diverse it's ever been ever in Warzone history, but I would say certainly since the launch of MW3. So given that fact, or hypothesis, I guess, we kind of looked at all the weapons that could be in that conversation. We had tried them all, and we talked about whether or not they're good, and if so, why, and what they're good at. And I thought that was a very productive episode. We did talk about some other things related to Warzone as well. Like we got into SMGs and snipers a little bit, but not too much really changed there. So there wasn't that much else to say. But the long range meta, there was a lot that changed. So there was a lot to say. So we looked at like the Subverter. We looked at the Bruin. We looked at the Ram. We looked at the Holger 556. And, you know, setups for them, what they're good at, what they're bad at, where you should use them, where you shouldn't. And we had already tried all of them as well, which helped, obviously. So yeah, I thought that was extremely productive in terms of kind of, talking about what's good and what you should use. And I think I've kind of landed on my favorite setup now, but yeah, that was a great little ep and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually used a couple of those guns this morning that we talked a bit about in there. Not necessarily meta ones, but I was using the XRK Stalker this morning too, giving that a more of a try than I had used like 3 or 4 matches in a row. So we'll probably talk about that again in an episode in the future, but it's fun gun to use. But yeah, I like that episode comparing all the different weapons.
Yeah, that went very well, and that's available now for every single patron. So if you want to listen to that, join the Patreon, any tier, you can get it insta. And then for our platinum and above, we also did our Q&A as well, which went well, I would say. I feel like the caliber of questions we've been getting lately has finally been improved a bit.
Yeah, they're not as bad as they once were.
I think people have finally realized if they ask a dumb question, we're literally just going to ignore it, so they stop doing it. I think that's what's happening, which is good.
Yeah.
It means we have to scroll less. Now, to be clear, still plenty of awful questions that we skip.
Yeah. My scroll wheel's still
never
broken,
change.
But yeah.
That is of course true. But better than normal, which was nice. So yeah, that one's now live as well. I think that went live on Tuesday, actually.
Yeah.
So if you're platinum and above, enjoy that. And if you're listening for the jingle, here it is. For the 10 Canadian fake dollars, buddy. Number 1 fan, he says. Pair character jumping up and down saying number 1 fan. Got it. Thank you, Pat, for your fake money. We appreciate it. And very kind of you. Now, welcome to the show. Today, episode 409. First things first, I'm the realist, and also we got some patch notes. So we had a little baby patch yesterday, the 13th. They've separated this into multiplayer and Warzone. So we will start with, of course, multiplayer. Not too much going on here, but figured we'd cover it anyway. And let's go through these here. So there were some problems with the unlocking camos for the Subverter. These have been fixed according to these patch notes.
That's what they say.
Skid Row hardpoint. Additional spawn points were added to decrease the probability of an unfavorable flip. That's a good change, because that's a pretty big map, actually. One thing I realized when MW 3 launched, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but, you know, we're not as focused on multiplayer right now as we were when the game launched, is that some of the maps are like bigger than I remember them being in the original, you know, MW 2, and some are smaller. Skid Row is bigger than I remember it, or had remembered it. That's a big map.
Yeah. I think we talked about that in the beta too. I'm like, oh, this map is a lot larger than I remember it being. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because all you remember is the building that, like, you know, you go to.
Yeah.
But you realize once you're playing, and especially on Hardpoint, you're forced sometimes to not play at the building because the point isn't there. So you realize how big the map is. So yeah, adding more spawns probably a good idea. They wrote a lot of words about it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
This is interesting, potentially for our Damascus Hangouts. Private match increased max player and bot count from 12 to 24.
Well, hold on.
That's actually relevant. The last time we did customs at a Damascus Hangout, patreon.com/thedropshot, we had more than 12 people, and I left so that other people
that's
could
because
play.
they stealth changed it.
That's correct.
Yeah. So this is
So now they've reverted
don't get
it.
fooled. It was always 24. And then it got bugged. And now they're saying they've increased it from 12 to 24. Nope. We always used to play like 7v7, 8v8. So, hey, this isn't new. They just bugged it and now they fixed it.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. Just a sneaky. Yeah, exactly. This is why we say that Call of Duty engages in psychological operations, because this isn't technically a lie. But it's very misleading to say, oh, we increased the player count of private match lobbies from 12 to 24. It's like, I mean, sort of, like, technically that's true, but this is slippery and dishonest. Because really, it was 24, then you, without saying a word, made it 12, and now you're going to pretend like you've increased it from 12 to 24 because it was always 12 until now. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
So... shout out to...
They make you feel crazy, man.
Yeah, shout out to the Gaslighting Corporation. Corporations under Activision. Anyway, weapons and attachments. Here we go. Let's see. I'm looking for anything relevant. So the Maglift kit was nerfed for the Haymaker. I was talking about this actually in last Thursday, because I had just used it for the first time when I was doing the weekly challenges and how fun it was to use. But they made the hip fire and tack stance spread larger, so they nerfed it essentially.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter, to be clear, doesn't matter at all for Warzone, because I don't think this was ever going to be good in Warzone. And then for multiplayer as well, this actually is pretty bad. It's 40% worse hip fire and tack stance spread. That's actually a pretty big deal.
I feel like the hip fire was really good though before, so maybe now it's just more in line with other hip fire shotguns. Wasn't it really good to start with? I think it was.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Either way, it's not the biggest deal, but there you go. They made it significantly worse. And these are base attachments or base stats they change. So anyway, and then the longbow, the Tyrant 762 kit, where you get the more generous one-shot kill potential in multiplayer, removed the 30% hip fire spread benefit. So I guess you hip fired more accurately also with this.
Okay.
Than without it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. So I'm fine with that being gone. And then the ADS time they made from 390 to 470 milliseconds. So they nerfed it. That's probably fair because you're getting a one tap every time you pull the trigger on someone. So if they want to make it ADS a little slower to compensate, I think that makes sense. Because something I had been saying, again, last week, because it was the first time I tried this one also, was like, I actually don't see a reason not to use this for any longbow build ever in multiplayer. Like, you still rechamber almost as quickly, but now you're like not getting hit markers anymore. So why would I not run this attachment? So maybe now there's a little more reason to not run it.
Yeah.
But I think this is warranted as well.
I saw a lot of clips using this thing, so it was definitely very good.
Yeah. So anyway, and then in ranked play, you cannot use the JAK Glassless Optic. That has now been restricted. That's a weird decision.
I mean, it's just based on the GAs of the league. I think they pretty much restrict like everything new, basically, don't they?
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do.
Not a competitive league. It's not a competitive game. Never forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, whatever. Anyway. Okay, and then that's it. So, yeah, not much going on there, but figured we'd cover it. Now getting into the Warzone section of the March 13th patch. Again, pretty much the same changes. All the weapon balance they did for multiplayer, they did here. So they did make the maglift kit worse and the tyrant aftermarket part for the longbow worse as well in the same ways. That's fine. No one used those in Warzone anyway. Here we go. Gameplay cluster mines. It now requires 2 mines from a cluster mine to down a fully plated player. Okay. And then also a player with no plates will be downed by 1 mine from a cluster mine. Okay. I
don't think this will make that much of a difference.
I don't either.
Because what do they throw down? 6 mines, 8 mines?
Yeah, if I'm never hitting 1 cluster mine only and then like stopping. I don't have like that reaction time. So this almost certainly is not relevant at all.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I first read this quickly yesterday, I was like, oh, cool. A cluster mine will never like down you with one of them anymore. And I was literally thinking they meant the whole cluster mine. Like you could throw down 1 cluster mine, every mine could hit you and you would not be fooled. And even that, I was like, okay, that sounds good, but like they should just remove them from the game because they're annoying and cheese. But no, it's just 2 little mines will now down you. Okay.
Yeah, they meant one of the cluster of like 100. Yeah. So you just remove them from the game.
And yeah, shout out Flex. That's a great reason to run Flex.
Yeah.
Because you're just
true.
If you don't have Flex and you run into a building and somebody has this down, you're hitting 2 of them every time and you're down.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Get them out of the game.
The only way I can see this being relevant is like if someone throws down a cluster mine and then someone runs through and gets downed, and then like someone else runs through and sets off a couple more, and then there's only 1 left because you've already like had most of them explode. Mm-hmm. So then a third guy runs in later and only eats 1 and he won't get downed anymore if he's fully plated. That's like the only scenario where I see this being relevant, basically.
Yeah.
But if you run into a full-assed cluster mine deployment, this is not going to matter for you. Yeah. Especially because most players are like using auto tack. It's just not. Yeah. I'm either playing slowly enough to where I'm going to see and hear them before I run in the building at all, or I have to push, or I'm pushing quick and I'm just going to run into all of them. So yeah, remove them from the game, but whatever. Black sites increase the drop rate of black site keys to 5%, up from 1%. So remember we had that question a couple weeks ago about a black site keys drop outside of strongholds?
Yeah.
Now we know, I guess. They did technically, and the drop rate was only 1%. That's how those guys got in that one game.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them a million times since. They definitely were not 1%. That's a lie. You found them all the time.
Yeah.
I guess there's a 1% chance of getting it from whatever you open, and that's why, I mean, you always find them on the ground, so I don't know. I don't know why they would raise it, really, but okay.
Yeah, 1% kind of adds up, and 5%...
Yeah, when you're opening 50 boxes a game, yeah, you're going to get one.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Somebody
what I was
from your
say.
team's going to get one.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. Is like 1% means you'd have to open 100 boxes before you see one, basically. And if you're playing like quads, you're probably opening 40 in a game at least, if not like 70.
As a team?
So, yeah.
Oh, way more than that. You're probably opening 40 solo. When you count like duffel bags and where it can spawn too, I think. Yeah, you're opening way. You're probably doing 40 a person.
Yeah, if you count duffel bags, I don't know about 40, but depends how long you're in the game too. The reason I say that is because there was a weekly to open like 50 Warzone chests, and I was surprised how many games it took me to complete that. But then I realized, like, yeah, that's literally only counting chests. It's not counting duffels or like med little cabinets.
Yeah.
So anyway, 5% is a big deal though, because now that means on average you open 20 and you'll see one. And as a team, you're absolutely opening more than 20 things every game if you're playing like quads for sure. So and even solo. So that's kind of cringe, and I hate it, actually. I don't like black sites. I don't think they should be in the game. I think they're dumb.
Yeah, and then
you just don't see them that often right now because the drop rate is low and people don't bother to do it. But when someone does hit a black site, like we just avoid the area. And now if they're going to be like more common, are we just going to have to like tiptoe around a black site every single game? I hope not, but like actually maybe, because this is a big buff. It's going to depend more on like how many people are willing to actually use them, you know.
And then half the time, I mean, they're on the outside of the map anyway, so people are just doing it for loot. And then I feel like there was only like one game I can think of at all recently where somebody did a black site and it actually affected us, because it was like that black site was a smart one to do because it was where the circle was ending. But so often we'll grab the keys and we'll just be like, oh, these aren't worth doing. Like, so much now that nobody ever grabs the key from our squad. Like, you don't even think about it. You just always see it on the ground and just run past it now. But I should probably start picking them up to actually check where the black site's located.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what impact this has. But I don't know. Anyway, couple bug fixes as well. Let's see. Fix the collision issue that caused the Geiger counter to be irretrievable. Interesting. There were a couple other ones, but that was pretty much it. So, yeah, not too much going on, as I said, but there we go. And we should expect more. We shouldn't expect more real substantive patches until season 3, basically.
Yeah.
I think the next big kind of like, you know, Thursday pod for us or topic is going to be when we get the season 3 roadmap. And I'm not sure when that will be.
I want to say season 3 is now like 18 days away or so. 19?
So maybe
I don't
next
remember
week.
what it was. No, I think it'd be 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's what you said.
And that's what I said, yeah. So, yeah. So we'll see. But anyway, we got a couple other things here quickly to go through as well. There was an issue with unlocking the iron sight for the XRK Stalker, but now you can, and you can do it via armory unlocks.
I want to be super clear, by the way. Sledgehammer has not put out a single aftermarket part through a weekly challenge that has ever worked correctly. Ever. Every single one is bugged. There was another one I didn't even bother putting in here, but the last one they just did was bugged and wasn't unlocking, and they tweeted about that and fixed it or something. It's literally every single weekly challenge is bugged some way. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's not great. They need to just make them all armory unlocks right away. I don't know why they don't, because this is always what they do. Yeah, they say there's like some challenge, and then it doesn't work. And then they're like, all right, we'll just add it to the armory.
They also broke weekly challenge tracking. That was not working at all for me today, because I purposely started tracking everything, checked in game, was not showing any of it again. So that's once again broken. At least for me, it was this morning. And it wasn't just that one game. I checked 2 or 3 games, and it never worked. And just I had like 4 tracking. They can't
just do a patch, fix the things they intend to, and then not break something else also.
Yeah.
They can't do it. It's not possible.
Yep.
So anyway, speaking of issues, they've temporarily disabled the rebreather while they investigate.
That's an item that needs to just go. Just get it out.
I saw, you know what's weird is like 2 days ago, I saw a rebreather and I didn't pick it up. And then however, I'm not kidding. I think that's the only time I've ever seen a rebreather since MW3.
It was probably when we were on Vondel, right? I don't even know if they exist on Big Map.
We were on Cargo.
Really?
We were on Urzikstan in Cargo, right next to the water. Right next to, before you go to Old Town. It was in one of those random buildings. There was a rebreather on the ground. And I was like, oh, these are in the game? I forgot. And then I didn't pick it up and then kept playing. Yeah.
I feel like I've only seen them on Vondel. Yeah. That's funny.
Everything's more common in Resurgence maps because I guess.
Yeah.
Just because. So anyway, whatever.
That's one of those dumb little items.
Who's used a rebreather ever, by the way? Type 1 in the chat if you've ever actually used a rebreather, not just picked it up, but like gotten use out of it.
I've used one before. I used one on Vondel in one of those little areas where like you go under and like swim under to get to a little area. One of those hidden
rooms. And the rebreather allowed you to do it and you otherwise couldn't?
I think you had to use the rebreather. I don't remember now though, because that was in Warzone 2 last year. So I don't exactly remember. But yeah, it's just one of those little items again that they always bug. They're constantly bugging it somehow. So let's just like, I don't know. Doesn't add enough to the game to even keep it in.
Exactly. Remove rebreathers and water. So
Warzone.
Anyway, moving on. Speaking of changes, I think we should do these first. We had a couple other things we wanted to talk about, and these are from content creators.
Yes. Yeah.
Some more details on things that have already been added to the game. And we teased this somewhere, but anyway, TheXclusiveAce did a video on the new optic, the JAK Glassless Optic, and he did exactly what I had asked someone to do, which was tested it and how helpful it is, because unlike every other red dot, this optic also has a benefit for firing aim stability. So that makes it uniquely interesting and potentially good based on how much recoil control it gives you, or firing aim stability. Those basically are the same thing. So yeah, like when Tanner and I were talking about this optic, we were like, yeah, it's pretty good. But I would only run this on a gun where I'm already running like a red dot, a Mark III reflector, or a Sleight reflector, or a NIDAR or something. If my gun setup already has that, you might as well run the new one, because it will also give you an optic with the same level of zoom, which is to say none, but it will also give you some recoil control, at least according to the stats, whereas a Mark III reflector or something wouldn't. So then the question was, well, how much does it actually help your recoil like it says it does, your firing aim stability? And if so, by how much? So TheXclusiveAce did a video testing it and essentially gave us the answer. So
yeah,
let's see what we have here. Yeah.
So let me pull up the images first, and I'll show you guys the little images here. Oh, these are all super zoomed in for some reason. Okay. So we're going to start with this one. Here's the MCW he tested. Base gun to compared to the JAK Glassless Optic. So as you can tell here, not much of a difference. Kind of just it bounces around a little bit less. Overall, the amount of recoil is about the same, but the bullets in general hit a little bit closer using the optic because that firing aim stability. So a little benefit out of that one.
Yeah. Less variability. Less bouncy horizontally, I would say.
Kind of slightly more predictable, but it's not much. Right. So moving on here to the MTZ556, you want to test this because this had a lot more bounce, a lot of visual shake as well. This one was about the biggest improvement. You can see on the left here with the base gun how it'll go up to the right a lot, and then the next bullet will go way left and then way right again. When you're running the glassless optic, it'll kind of just more go in a line and kind of stay one direction between the bullets instead of going right, left, right, left. It's kind of like if the recoil pattern is going up to the left, most of the bullets go to the left. And when the recoil pattern starts going to the right, most of the bullets end up taking that right pattern as well. Whereas in the base gun, they will bounce around randomly a bit here and there as well. So that one was a pretty big difference. I mean, still not massive. Still not as good as using like any recoil attachment, really. But, you know, it gives you a slight benefit there. Next one here is the BP50. This is like no different at all, hardly.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be.
Doesn't really seem different whatsoever, yeah. And then the last one here is the Bass B, which has kind of an odd recoil pattern. Again, it helps a little bit. Bass B like is kind of very odd. Its pattern there, especially when it gets to like the final
helpful.
bullets. Yeah, it's still a difficult pattern to control though, and still somewhat random. But
for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like this wasn't a great comparison because his two tests here on the left were like totally different recoil patterns that the gun had. So it's kind of like a bad test, it seems like. But anyways, so it helps a tiny bit on that one too. So, you know, as you can kind of see there, nothing is that substantial at all. And that's kind of what we had said. So essentially what he has said about it is it's not a major improvement, but it's there. If you're running something like the Mark III reflector, if you prefer this, use it, you know. But oddly enough, he actually said he's not even going to swap off the Mark III because he prefers the Mark III better because the pieces in the glassless that kind of turn into the middle towards the dot, he didn't like those.
Yeah.
So he said that kind of harms him more than anything. There is another benefit that he didn't really talk about in the video, but the top comment of the video did point out in that the glassless optic, something about it makes it sit higher on the gun. It appears when you're ADSing. So where your red dot is at, if somebody drop shots, you don't necessarily lose them. Like you still see them in your sight picture, which was interesting that guy pointed out. Cause I'm like, that's very true. Cause even when Ace was showing some gameplay clips, you can notice that, but he didn't talk about that. So that is a pretty big benefit for it as well. Whereas when he was running the Mark III, if somebody drop shots, it's like the optic is so low on your gun that the person is now behind your gun model and you don't see them at all, but you do see them with that glassless optic. So
that's interesting.
Another thing too with that you need to keep in mind, Ace only plays multiplayer. So even a small improvement of firing aim stability in Warzone, when you're talking most gunfights, you know, or a ton of gunfights being at 40, 50 meters compared to multiplayers like 10, 15 meters, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a much bigger improvement when you get out to range there. So something to keep in mind. So like I would never run a regular Mark III reflector over the glassless optic like he said, but you know, it is all preference. If the weird little prongs coming into the glassless optic really mess you up, then obviously don't use it. But yeah, and so then another thing that he said, which I had already said immediately when this came out, remember when all the dumb Twitter loadout accounts were saying like, oh, drop the Bruin heavy under barrel or drop the stock and use this optic instead. And I was like, that is crazy. That's the dumbest thing I've heard. Sure enough, he basically says the same thing in that video too. He's like, if you're already running an optic, you know, swap to this if it's preference. But it does not help recoil that much. It almost doesn't help recoil on half of these guns he tested. So, yeah, don't fall for that. Only use this if you're already going to run an optic on your gun. Never, never, ever drop a recoil attachment that's going to help your horizontal recoil by like 20%, like the Bruin heavy support underbarrel, to use this. That makes no sense. Do not do that. And a lot of the Twitter, you know, the awful loadout pages post that. Do not listen to them. That's terrible advice.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, I'm pretty much everything we had originally said about this, I stand by. Yeah. If you're already running a red dot, switch to this one because it will help with firing aim stability. I will say this, the only thing surprising about this video is it does smooth out the recoil more than I thought it would, actually.
Yeah.
And like you said, that is a big deal at like 50, 60 meters. If it bounces like not to the left at all versus, you know, a couple millimeters, like that's easily the difference between hitting a shot and missing it.
Yeah.
In Warzone, like at pretty far away. So it's not as good again as any recoil attachment, but it's way better than not having any firing aim stability like a regular Mark III reflector or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is absolutely a solid attachment for sure. And you should definitely be running it unless, the prongs are like that detrimental to you, Which is possible, by the way, but that's only going to be an issue very close. You're only going to lose people because of the prongs if you're like in a gunfight up really, really close.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to get out of your sight picture at 50 meters, like, by going into the prong. That's not going to happen. But up very close, I could see that happening. So another thing I would add is that benefit to fire aim stability worth it on an SMG? I don't think so. Because again, it helps, and that's really a big deal at like 50 meters. But if I'm using an SMG with like a Mark III reflector right now, I'm not changing to a glassless optic to get extra recoil control because the prongs do annoy me. And all my gunfights are going to be really close where the prongs are going to probably harm me more often than they're going to help me. But also, I don't need to run an optic on any SMG I run right now.
Yeah.
So that's just not super relevant anyway.
I don't run one either.
But there have been times where meta SMGs have had iron sights so offensive that you can't run them. So you have to run an optic, not because it needs an optic, but because it needs to not have an iron sight on it. And in those rare cases, if that comes up again, I would say, personally, I would rather not run the glassless optic because I don't care about firing aim stability for an SMG range gunfight, and the prongs will mess me up more than I'll get benefit out of the fire aim stability, specifically on an SMG build.
Interesting.
But
I mean, we have a couple of those guns right now. It's the AMR9 is the top one. Pretty much everyone runs an optic on that because the irons are terrible.
Oh, yeah, I
and
never
then also
run it,
the
right,
WSP9, if people run that. I don't like that gun either, but that's... You do see some people using iron sights, but like it has terrible irons. I don't think they're usable at all. But yeah, me personally, I would still run the JAK Glassless over a normal red dot on
for
SMGs.
An AMR9. I would, because you're using that pretty far away too. But like the WSP9, I would only run. I wouldn't run it. No, I don't think it would be worth it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like preference. Like, yeah, if those prongs don't mess you up at all, then you might as well get extra recoil control. There's no reason not to. So yeah. Anyway, interesting video. We will have that linked for you guys in the show notes video description if you want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
next one here, nice little video from JGOD. He's talking about the reload speeds when using sleight of hand, because he said he's been getting asked a lot about it lately. So I'm glad he is finally doing this. Let me pull up the image here. Should be this one. There we go. All right. So here we go. So he's showing base reload speeds here compared to running sleight of hand. Here's the speeds. He shows the percentage that they're increased. And he basically just took all of the meta weapons. So he sorted these by the most benefit in terms of percentage that you get for making the reload faster. So like the number one on this list is the HRM. So if you're running sleight of hand as your first or second perk, your reload speed is 1.1 second versus 1.81 if you are not running sleight of hand. So that is a 38% increase to your reload speed. Now, even then, 1.8 isn't that bad. That's why so many people aren't running sleight of hand right now. But I mean, when you look at it this way, in terms of almost 40% increase, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is.
So like that number does somewhat surprise me, because he even said like how much it helps the HRM. And it's interesting because all the top players I watch playing like ranked play on Resurgence too, where you really have to reload faster, most of them don't run it. I'm like, that's weird, because he was kind of talking about his perks, and his setup was actually Mountaineer and sleight of hand. He was not doing double time at all, which is kind of not what a lot of the top players do. So anyways, next on the list here was the Ram 9. Goes from 1.5 seconds down to 0.98, 37% increase. And then some other ones here and there. I'm not going to read all of them, of course. Where's like a good one? So Holger 26 is a good example because it's a pretty slow reload to start. So that goes from 2.3 seconds all the way down to 1.5, 35% faster. So that one's good.
Yeah.
Then you kind of get down the list a little bit. It starts to be less important. So the Bruin with a 60 round mag, only a basically a 25% increase. So that goes from 1.75 to 1.31. So if you're using something like that, I don't know if that's even worth using sleight of hand. That's not that big of a difference, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're blowing through ammo quickly. So I guess
and you reload often.
Yeah. So I guess anything for that one would help. And then, you know, kind of going down to the bottom of the list here. Something like the BP50 SOA Subverter. Pretty bad. Sleight of hand does not help very much on those. 19% on the Subverter and 16% on the BP50. So like BP50, for example, goes from 2.28 seconds down to 1.91. Not very good, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of what he says here is there are some guns that just, it doesn't benefit you enough to even run it. So it kind of just, you have to change your class based on what gun you're running. So if I'm running a BP50 primary with a WSP9, you shouldn't use sleight of hand, right? Because the WSP9, it's less than a 12% benefit when you're running sleight of hand. Just not worth it at all. I mean, 1.95 seconds to 1.71, not at all worth it. Run double time, run Mountaineer, you know. So it kind of just depends on your gun setup. But yeah, this is interesting that he tested this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is helpful. We will again link the video for you guys if you want to watch it yourselves, but this chart is pretty much all you need. And it's on screen here for you. Yeah. And, you know, on Urzikstan, sleight of hand is less important, and so is Mountaineer. So, like, I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. Yeah. But depending on what gun you have, you can absolutely get away with not having sleight of hand, is basically the TLDR on a surprising number of guns, actually.
Yeah.
Looking at this chart here. Like, what am I running right now? I'm running the Bruin 100 mag. There, I would keep it because that's a 1 second difference.
Exactly. It's only 20%, but that's a full
20%
1
of
second.
4.7 seconds. Exactly. Yeah. So that's another thing too, is like, if you look at this chart, don't only use the percentages because, 20% of, you know, 4.5 seconds is a lot longer than 40% of 1.8 seconds, obviously.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too. Like the TAC Evolver, again, it's a 25% benefit, but that also comes out to almost 1.5 seconds. So you want to run it on that, you know.
I think he said that too. I think he said if you're running an LMG, you should be running sleight of hand, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So pretty interesting.
So then what he had said exactly was, you know, like, I think the vast majority of these scenarios in the meta weapons, if you run sleight of hand, you're going to get a ton of benefit out of it. So, you know, he's recommending using it, which, I thought was interesting because, like I said, like hardly any of the top players I watch run sleight of hand.
Unfortunates keep ranked. Yeah.
It just seems like anything at this point. But
oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. It'll be more interesting when we get big map rank to see what people run, because it's like a lot of these people, they just don't even bother changing their perk setups. They just go between the maps. It doesn't matter that much, you know? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then last kind of little thing here, so I wanted to point this out. This is a Season 3 anniversary skin coming. That's going to be... The way they worded it was something like, it says it right here, earn the free anniversary weapon skin. So not sure how this is if this is gonna be some sort of a challenge, because the last time we got one, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you just go in the store and
as long as you logged in, I think.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do for this one, but it's like, you know, it's cute, it's cool, it's got a bunch of stickers all over it, you know, different themes, Rebirth Island.
It's very busy.
Caldera,
it's extremely busy.
Urzikstan Rail, I think it says. I don't know. But
Rally?
I don't know.
Rail.
I'm pretty sure it's red.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But maybe we'll finally see the MCW buff. This is like a meta loadout, man. It's got the Spirit Fire, the 60-round mag. It's got some sort of a zoom scope on there. I
think this is going to be for every single gun, like the other anniversary skin is. I don't think it's going to be a weapon blueprint.
Oh, you're right, because that's I always forget they differentiate those. So it would say weapon blueprint. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, then okay. Then never mind. The MCW is never getting buffed, which is kind of sad. God, they need to buff it so bad, man.
I would like to see it be at least relevant. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But anyway. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. It's a pretty ugly skin to me, honestly. Maybe it looks better in game, but
yeah,
it's extremely busy. So,
people like those cute little nostalgia, those little nostalgic items that they add to the game, though.
Yep.
Moving on here, something from Charlie Intel. A U.S. District Court judge has dismissed Hex and Scump's lawsuit against Activision Blizzard.
That was fast.
Both parties agreed to move the case to arbitration, where an arbitrator will decide final decisions on the dispute between both parties.
Wow.
So do you know how this works? So like this could still be a full like case, right? Like they could still go back to court. It's just right now an arbitrator is kind of deciding what to do with it, and they're going to talk to both parties. Is that how that usually works?
My understanding is that it will not go to court, and whatever the arbitrator decides is what both parties will be legally obligated to do. So if the arbitrator is like, okay, Activision, you owe Scump $30 million. They're just legally required to pay it. Basically. That's my understanding, but I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't know how arbitration works really either. Because I don't think arbitration is done in a court. I think it's just like all the lawyers and the arbitrators will get in a room and like talk. Basically. And then the arbitrator is going to get all the facts. And then he's going to be like, all right. Or she, that person, whatever. Yeah. She's like, all right, here's what I think we should do. And then they do it, basically. That's my understanding. I could be wrong, though. I don't really know. But that was fast.
Yeah, that was, huh?
Yeah. And I wonder why both parties agreed to go to arbitration.
Must be because like Hex and Scump know they're never getting close to the amount that they were suing for, kind of. So this is, maybe it was either like the whole case was getting thrown out or something, or they do this.
Yeah, maybe. But then why would Activision agree to arbitration?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Any lawyers
that's
in the
what
chat?
My big question is why would both parties want arbitration in this case?
Then it must be like they're kind of forced into it, I guess, you know?
My assumption,
the lawsuit exists.
My assumption is that Activision wants it because it would be cheaper to go to arbitration and then pay whatever the arbitrator thinks they should than do a whole ass trial case on it. So that's why they agreed. And then Hex and Scump probably agreed because they will get more money from arbitration, which is probably something, than by going to court and losing likely and getting nothing and then having to pay Activision's lawyers. So I think it's probably that's my best guess as to why they would both agree.
I wonder if it could be something too from Activision's point of view where if it goes to court, then they have to make certain things public that they otherwise wouldn't want to.
Too. Yeah, that's possible too. Because then they don't want like other people suing them for the same thing. Yeah, that's possible too. Because if it goes to court, then it's public knowledge what the, whatever. But if you do a settlement or arbitration, I don't think that has to be disclosed, and it probably won't be. Maybe Activision doesn't want the PR anymore or something. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so very interesting. I don't know, but surprised it got dismissed so quickly. I wonder if it got dismissed because they agreed to arbitration, or if it got dismissed and then they agreed to arbitration. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, if we ever get details, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, we'll let you know in a year.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Last little thing here quickly. Article from Dexerto. Ex-Activision CEO Bobby Kotick looks to buy TikTok amid shutdown fears. So this was written before this passed. So this was written on the 10th. And as of, I think, was it yesterday, the 13th, or maybe it was the 12th, that vote passed in the House of Representatives by quite a bit.
I don't know what that vote was exactly, by the way.
Like how many people?
Like that House vote where they like banned TikTok. I don't know what exactly happened.
So what I heard was that basically if it passes in the Senate and then if Biden signs it, which he already said he would, it would give TikTok 6 months to sell to an American company. Otherwise, it would be banned in the country. Something like that is what I heard.
Got it. I think you're right. I think I've heard something like that too. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
so Un-American needs to buy it. So Bobby's looking to do it.
Un-American needs to buy it. So Bobby Kotick's looking to do it. Bobby's coming back, baby. So
our best and brightest.
I haven't read this article yet, so I kind of just skimmed through. Bobby Kotick eyes up TikTok purchase amid fears of shutdown. Bobby Kotick, former CEO of Activision, has approached ByteDance founder Zhang Yiming, to express interest in purchasing the social media platform TikTok, according to reports in the Wall Street Journal. This comes amid fears the new legislation could force ByteDance to sell the platform or risk being shut down. However, purchasing TikTok won't come cheap, with an estimated price tag in the hundreds of billions. Wow.
Jeez.
The former Activision executive reportedly pitched the idea to a table of people that included OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Blah blah.
Just
the tears
retire.
of nothing matters. That's it. Nothing else
pretty much
matters. Yeah, bro just always wants to be doing something, huh?
Yeah, it's just like, dude, you have so much money. Do you need like more? I don't know. I would be big shilling if I was him, based on what we heard about his.
They just can't. It's an addiction, man. They can't help but like get their little hands on everything. It's an addiction. It has to be.
Yeah,
he just can't help it.
Disgusting.
Like, bro,
hands,
you're in your 60s. Just like relax, do something, chill.
Yeah.
God damn, we don't gotta be buying everything up, man. Big Bobby always in the mix. Yeah,
that is pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, he wouldn't be spending hundreds of billions of his own money. That's not how that would work. I don't know exactly how it would work, but it wouldn't be that simple because he does not have hundreds of billions to spend. But
yeah, if he's got a group of big spenders, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You
Elon?
ask for funding, or you just get like a group of people. Elon, yeah,
Sam Altman.
I don't know, Sam Altman.
The Dropshot LLC, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be willing to sit on the board for sure.
Yeah, I guess.
I suppose, yeah. What I find way more interesting, who knows if Bobby Kotick is going to buy it. If he does, it'll be him and a bunch of other people, yeah. What I find more interesting, though, is that the bill existed and was passed at all. What was the... Like, I didn't follow this at all until it happened, but what was the argument as to why TikTok should be banned unless an American owns it? Because of all the spyware or whatever?
The level of, like, the cybersecurity issue. I think it actually said at the end of this article, a quote from, let's see what it said. Several states have imposed a ban on TikTok from government devices, with Maryland State Governor Larry Hogan claiming the app presented an unacceptable level of cybersecurity risk to the state. So,
okay.
It's just, it's probably because it's, China owned, I guess. But it was interesting to see the people who voted no, because it was like 300 and something to like, I don't know, around 60 or something that voted no. But it was like the people that voted no were like the more libertarian people, and then AOC voted no, and then what's that white chick that's a Republican, like Marjorie, how do you say her name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, she also voted no. So that's what people are talking about, how it's interesting. Like the people that voted no on it were like complete opposites. But anyways.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I wonder why you'd vote no.
But yeah, those people were basically scared or saying that leaves the president and other future presidents to be able to ban any app or software or website in the country just because they don't like it, basically. But then I also heard that wasn't true because it didn't have anything to do with American companies. It was like worded only for overseas companies, but who knows? Everyone just says something that's like half true.
They all lie.
So they all just get on the internet and lie. So I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, they don't either. Nobody read the whole bill.
Yeah. Yeah, literally no one ever has read the whole bill. That's how they always work, so.
End the Fed!
Anyway. End the Fed, L Fed, L taxes, L IRS.
W China.
Well,
I love China. Stay humble.
Let's not get... Okay, stay humble, I guess.